What is up, everybody? We're back, TCR Live on this beautiful Tuesday night. I know that's the Mock Draft Monday intro, but I just love it so much that I just got to play it, right?
You can't help but smile.
It's all those great Cardinals clips. My good friend Doug did that song, and Mikey Cardinals kind of wrote the lyrics to that. So obviously, just got to do that. I am joined by two of my favorite people in the world, obviously, Jackie and Aaron Van Buren. Let's start with you, Jackie. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm happy football season is finally back and happy to finally get to talk about it consistently.
Yes, you and me both. It is good to be back for sure. Aaron, how are you, sir?
I am also well, just getting ready for another school year, and just athletics are in full swing. So it's that time of year, but it's also the greatest time of year because the best sport in the world is back.
Right, right. And on top of that, although the weather right now doesn't feel like it, fall is just kind of around the corner. I always kind of like that too. So this time of year between football starting up, fall weather kind of around the corner, and the semester starting up for me, it's kind of just a time where things start to feel kind of exciting. Well, speaking of exciting, we have some awesome folks in the chat. So I'm going to say hey to some of the folks that are here that are dropping comments in the chat, and then we'll get going into the topic of the day. We've got Grandizer always doing what he does, which is holding down the chat, getting the links, getting the info, doing a great service to content creators. If you don't know Grandizer, you better call somebody and ask somebody. He drops in the chat for a lot of content creators, not just myself. He's a Dolphins fan, but he just does a great service to a lot of us content creators. Definitely appreciate Grandizer. We got Tanner Seymour. Thanks for being here. New Cardinal season upon us, and it can only be up from here. I tell you, there's some reasons to be optimistic. Certainly for the long term. Maybe this season might be a little rough still, but there's some things looking up. Classy Nasty, appreciate you being here with the biceps. King Plumtree, thank you for being here. It's someone who made me a really awesome water bottle that's currently in my refrigerator getting chilled, but appreciate you for sure. We've got AZE Sports Cards. Love the intro. Thank you. I love that too. It is a lot of fun. Michael Evans, thank you for being here. Hello. Boyd Bubble, yo. Great to be here. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Asian 47, what is up? It seems that we finally have a team that plays smart and with heart. Absolutely. We will get into that and talk about that a little bit. Nick L, hey, it's been a while. It sure has, but glad to be back. Pete Trubeck, thanks for being here. Looking forward to the draft, right? Yeah, next year. Listen, the Cardinals are going to own next year's draft, but that's a long way away. We've got some football between now and then. We've got Easy No Stories. Jogo! How I've missed you, man. I miss you too, buddy. I'm not crying. You're crying. So appreciate you being here. So let's get into the topic we're going to start with today, and that is observations from the first preseason game. Right? The Cardinals played the Denver Broncos, won, on a 2-point conversion in a game I think that has a lot of fans, seeing some things that they like. So why don't we start with you, Jackie? What is one of the things you observed from the first preseason game? Something that stood out to you?
I mean, I don't want to overreact or anything, Joe, but I think we're going to win the Super Bowl.
Right?
Be the quarterback of the future.
No chill.
Right?
Totally kidding. This team looks competent. It looks coached competently, and I think we've really hit it with our defensive line and our offensive line.
Man, I couldn't agree more. Aaron, do you want to respond to Jackie's comment real quick? I sort of got some thoughts, but
Well, maybe not Super Bowl bound, but it may be slightly not as bad as we think, but the preseason's like go west is the king of wishful thinking. But it was a kind of a surprise to me to see. I thought we were going to do a lot better against the Broncos just because of the dismal state of their roster and everything. Like, I think last year when they beat us, we clinched the 3rd overall pick or pretty close to that time. And, I expected us to be a little more better in shape, but it was nice to see the starters out there. I actually was impressed with Michael Wilson. Quite a bit, especially, the 3rd down catch on the sideline. The out route was nice. And it's refreshing to kind of, see some hope springing eternal here in the desert.
Yeah, I think you both make some great points. And Pete Trebeck's talking about Just nice to see, no pre-snap penalties all over the place. And, Jack, I completely agree. And that's one of the things I talked about in my reaction video to the game is the team looks disciplined and competently coached. I think they're going to struggle because they're going to be at a disadvantage from a personnel standpoint in certain positions. They got some young players, some kind of reclamation projects like LJ Collier. It's a transition. There's some guys that are learning their roles. They're going to get beat because at points because other teams are going to have better players, but I don't think they're going to be beat because they aren't playing disciplined football. And that's something that I think is a really good starting point, in terms of the penalties and other things. And Aaron, that catch on the sideline, man, that play stood out to me. I mean, there were a lot of plays that were interesting in that game, but I talked about that in my video too. That one third down conversion catch to Michael Wilson. What I loved about it is he was targeted in that play. It was a bang bang play where he was there was contact with the defensive back. And it was a very one of those plays where there's very little margin for error, right? It was so close to the line of the first down marker that I at first didn't think they got it. I thought it was short, right? But there was a replay and confirmed that it was a first down. And to me, that just shows so much poise and ability for Michael Wilson as a route runner, right? To know an awareness, to know where he's at. And to have a rookie in his first preseason game on his first catch make a play like that, right? Where it's not like we're talking out of second down, he ran out, found a soft spot in the zone, and got a nice easy gimme, right? This was a play designed for him to get that first down, and it was one with a razor thin margin for error. And that to me spoke volumes about Michael Wilson, the trust they have in him already, and gives me a lot of excitement about him. Jackie, what's one more observation you have from the game?
Well, I think that we've got something with Keitrell Clark. He made some plays and he was all over the field. And I mean, our quarterback room is a little decimated, but don't be surprised about him this season.
Yeah. I mean, his PFF grade was like 89 point something. I think his coverage grade was 90 and 29 snaps. I mean, he was a guy that I think, through mock draft Monday, I think a lot of us liked. I know I liked him a lot. And I thought he was going to go more like the fourth round. And when they got into the sixth round, I was just obviously very excited about that. So, I think, we thought about him as being sort of that slot corner. I thought, okay, maybe he's going to be the nickel. And he might. But if he keeps playing like that, a lot of people will say he can play on the outside. He's a little small, but, small corners do play outside sometimes. So, it wouldn't shock me if he ends up being one of the starting outside cornerbacks. So at this point, I don't know. I think it seems like it's going to be Clark, Marco Wilson, and my brain's not.
Antonio Hamilton.
Yep, that's it. Brain fart. Yes. So, but yeah, I'm with you. That was really exciting to see Keitrell Clark playing well. Aaron, what's your next observation?
It goes down to the snap counts, particularly on the offensive side. Jess Root for Yahoo actually put together all the snap counts. And one thing I found really interesting was just listen to the top, 4 snap getters on the offensive line. Dennis Daly, 46. John Gaines, 43. Josh Jones, 43. Marquise Hayes, 43. Jackson Barton, 43. Kelvin Beachum, 36. I was a little surprised to see Beachum getting that many snaps in a preseason game. And did he include Paris? Yeah, Paris Johnson only got 15 on there. So is this foreshadowing here? Is it just a random allotment? Because that may mean that, PJJ, if we're going to call him that, or Paris is already superseded Beachum at the right tackle position. So it's preseason, still got a long way to go with 2 more games. But I was just like, that's also interesting. The other thing is Pat Elflein, the center we just signed, only played 21 snaps compared to Froholt's 15 or 16.
Right, and it seems like everything we're seeing and hearing is kind of confirming that PJJ is going to be the starting right tackle, right, and that Beachum is going to be a backup, swing tackle perhaps. playing at both left and right tackle. So that I'm glad to see that. I mean, Beachum has been decent. I think people have hated him a bit. His grades have been decent, but a rookie playing? What?
Seriously.
What is this?
Compare contrast this to 2020 preseason. Oh,
right? So to have Paris Johnson Jr. as the starting right tackle is really kind of an exciting thing. So yeah, I mean, I think, and I think I said this a lot last preseason. There's only so many things you can kind of glean from the preseason that are meaningful in terms of, signal versus noise. But one thing you can look at that does matter is who's getting snaps, right? And if they're not getting a lot of snaps, it either means they're not making the roster or their role is already defined, right? Or close to defined. And I think with the offensive line, it sure looks like, that offensive line, barring injury, knock on wood, is set, right? Humphreys, Wilkins, Furholt, Hernandez, and BJJ, right? So maybe what's more interesting to see is really the battle for who's the backups and who makes the roster, right? Yeah. So let me say to some of the other folks that have jumped in the chat since we got in here. We got Paul G. Thanks for being here. Now we have an audience. Awesome. Appreciate you being here. We have Jose. Thanks for being here. Defensive line needs a true nose tackle DT to create the pressure needed to let the secondary gain that extra second. The indication chemistry is coming along with each quarterback. Yeah, the defensive line is still a work in progress. I mean, they played well, but there's just a lot of uncertainty about who's going to be the starter, right? We've got Red Sea. What's up, guys? Appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, Corey. Let's see, Michael Evans. So happy to see you guys, to see young players out there 100%. Agree with that. Ben Cork, our buddy from Canada, thanks for being here. Frozen, absolute beast, right? You all saw the body slam, right? Everyone's seen that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Keith Davis, thanks for being here. It was a good start, but I think it's way too early for people to make decisions about Tune, Wilson, or others. I've seen some commentators already declaring Tune as QB1 in the league. I agree with that. It is way too early.
QB1 on this team is a low bar.
Yeah, right.
At least for 7-8 weeks.
And I'll tell you, I think Colt is going to be starting. They're going to get Tune reps.
They put money on that.
Yeah, but I think Colt McCoy is going to be starting, and unless he gets injured, I think that's going to happen. But people are excited about Tune. Tune down, baby. Time to trade. No.
Okay, Jose, you're going to crap on me for my comment. Look at this one.
Yeah, right. But I think Doc's joking. Jordan P. Dante still showed some flashes. He did. Yep. Nice depth piece on that rotation for defensive line. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of things we saw in that game that were kind of exciting. That are something that things to look forward to, that are flashes of what we might have. Listen, I'm a realist. I think this team is probably still going to struggle all year, but we're seeing the things we're looking for, right? Discipline, the rookies getting some snaps, the rookies showing some things, and some of them flashing. I know it's just preseason, but if we continue to see that, that's something to build on. Speaking of things that were real exciting, Aaron, you wanted to talk a little bit about one particular rep from Paris Johnson Jr. that has kind of gone around on Twitter. I think a lot of people have seen this. So I'm going to queue up this rep that Paris Johnson Jr. had, and I'm going to let you talk about it. I'm going to play it all the way through, and then we'll kind of play it and then maybe pause it a little bit. So
yes.
Sorry, go right ahead.
All right. So this is the one clip of Paris Johnson Jr. against Randy Gregory. Pretty sure this was first quarter. This is the kind of clip that everyone's raving about, and this is kind of a little more of a breakdown from a player's aspect of it. So when Johnson sets and he gets right into here, so he's doing a good job right now. He's staying pretty parallel, pretty square. All the DNs in the NFL pretty much have long arm now. So Gregory gets his hands inside on Johnson Jr. first. But the good thing is that Paris, if you can go ahead to the next point, he's going to stop and not only get his head out, he refits his hands. And then you can see right here at this point, even though right before this point his feet were flat and his hips were turned, he's got enough strength in that left arm, and he places it right on that blue stripe down Gregory's right side there to launch him right past the quarterback. So this is great offensive line play because you don't always have to stonewall a dude or stop him in his tracks for you to win the rep. Because after this was Colt in the quarterback, right?
Let's see. Let's play it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So right here, this is a win, and this is what's interesting to see if Beachum can replicate that. I know he's a veteran and he's been on a couple teams, so he's got a lot of more wear and tear from fighting all these battles. But for a rookie to come out against a pretty not upper tier, but a pretty higher tier pass rusher like Randy Gregory, it shows that Monty Ossenfort is doing his job. And I know it's 1 week, but for once we nailed a pick on the offensive line. Hallelujah.
Right. Yeah. And I think Beachum is a veteran. He's savvy. He doesn't shuffle though like that. I don't think he can move. He does not move as well as PJJ does. Right.
No.
So that he wasn't going to have that kind of rep. He's going to have, he might have had a good rep, but he wouldn't have done so by moving with him as much. So, yeah, I mean, that was kind of my first chance to really see PJJ in action, and I liked what I saw too. And I think he'll be right tackle this year and left tackle probably next year.
So yeah. I just want to build right off of that. It just goes to show you when you draft an offensive lineman and you play him in the spot that he's done or he's the most comfortable at, it makes such a huge world of difference. Now, can people learn the other side? Yes, but there's no doubt if you've been playing right tackle for the last 4 or 5 years, or all through college or all through high school, going to the next spot, you're just more comfortable with the mechanics of how your weight feels when you need to shift, especially everybody's got so many moves now. So let's hope. I mean, for me, I'm hoping he stays at right tackle, but I don't. If he goes left tackle, it wouldn't bother me.
So I think, didn't he play left tackle in college though? Also, I think he moved around a little bit, right? He played both. I think he played left tackle and some right guard. So yeah, listen, I've never played offensive line, so but you know much better than I do. But they do talk about how difficult it is to move from one side to the other, right? That kind of mirror thing. I do think it's one of those things that is difficult, but some people are just better at it than others. Some people, I play guitar, right? And some people are just so much better at strumming and singing and moving things all at the same time. And other people like me have to really focus, and I can strum, but I can't sing as well while I'm strumming or whatever. It's just kind of it's the whole kind of, can you do this or whatever? Just some people have this kind of better ability to do things that are kind of kinesthetically difficult or require some sort of kind of brain body control. So I think some offensive linemen just have to kind of stick to their side more, and if they're going to switch, they're going to need a lot more time to get it. But I think there's just some people. It's just like how some people can be switch hitters at the major league level and some people can't, right? I think there's just some people who somehow physiologically and in terms of the way their brain and everything works can just do that easier than other people. And it seems like maybe he is that, because Josh Jones, we saw, really struggled when they moved him to the right side.
Exactly.
Right? He struggled at guard. Harris Johnson Jr. seems to be able to pull that off. So again, this is just me kind of hypothesizing, but I think that maybe he's just one of those guys who can do it a little easier to switch around. So we'll see.
Yeah, and one last thing. Plus, you could see how smooth and fluid his feet were. It's just going to translate so much better to when Murray comes back, because we all know Murray's going to scramble at least for another year or two before settling into the pocket.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, I want to say to a couple other folks. We have Mark Jackson, really good. Mark, I hope you and your family are doing well. Played center in high school. I grew up without adding weight.
Same here. Okay,
nice. See, I think that's the only person who jumped in since. But okay, so yeah, I think Paris Johnson Jr. is a player to be excited about. So one other thing the next thing I want to talk about actually is who is going to be running back 2. Because here's the running backs that are currently on the roster. Tyson Williams, Keontae Ingram, Amari DeMarcado, James Conner, and Corey Clement, right? And, obviously Marlon Mack was signed. He was a player that I was hopeful for. He's a talented player, but he's had injury problems. And, of course, he had just a really unfortunate, devastating injury that's ending his season. And I don't know if he'll be back from it career-wise, even with all the injuries he's had. So we're in a situation now where, we don't have what I call a proven number 2 here on the roster. So, Jackie, let's start with you. Who do you think will be running back 2 on week 1 of the NFL season?
Well, I wish we kind of saw Keontae Ingram because everybody kind of was high on him last year. I know your buddy Brett Coleman, he has a lot of faith in him, but we did see some good things out of Williams. We saw some good things out of Clement, so it's going to be a tight race, and I honestly couldn't tell you who at this point. It's sort of a crapshoot.
Yeah. Aaron, what do you think?
I think it's down between Ingram and Clement. I think Clement he didn't play a lot when he was in Philly with the Eagles. He did have that huge catch in Super Bowl 52. So I think that may work or his receiving background nature may work in his favor more than Keontae Ingram. I don't know Keontae Ingram's stats off the top of my head. So if he did have receiving things or whatever, don't at me. Okay. But I think it's going to come down to them because you already got a bruiser in James Conner, but you kind of need a little bit more of a lightning kind of guy. And Conner's your thunder, and he's also your starter. So I could see Clement or Ingram taking it away for the second spot. But if I had to pick one right now, I'm going to go with Corey Clement.
Yeah, and if it's someone on the roster, it seems like. I think if it's someone who is actually on the roster and they don't bring someone in, I think it'll be Ingram, assuming he gets healthy. That's the reason we didn't see him. But I think he's a good fit for this offense. The wide zone, and again, Brett, you mentioned Brett Coleman, Jackie, and he compared him to Kareem Hunt in terms of not necessarily talent level, but play style. And Kareem Hunt obviously just played, in this offense, right? That Drew Petzing is bringing. So, when you look at the game, Tyson Williams had 10 carries, DeMarcado had 6, Clement had 6, Tune had 4, Colt McCoy had 1. So, and that was Connor didn't have any carries. So you wonder, well, does the fact that Clement had only 6 carries, does that mean he's kind of the lead guy? Well, Tyson Williams played better. He played the best of any running back. 10 carries, 51 yards, 5.1 yards per carry, and his PFF grade, Tyson Williams was 87.2. Clements was in the upper 50s. So yeah, if it's just people on the roster, I think it's, for me, I'd say it's between Ingram and Tyson Williams.
Wasn't Tyson Williams drafted by the Falcons?
I'm not sure if he was.
Or it's either that or Baltimore or something.
I know he was with Baltimore. I don't know if he was up to. I can find that out. I don't know. I think he was an undrafted player.
I'm on it right now.
He was a rookie free agent out of BYU by Baltimore in 2020. So yeah. And I think there's the question: is it going to be someone who's not on the roster yet? So
and then looking at some of the bigger name free agents that are still out there, Leonard Fournette, Kareem Hunt, J.D. McKissick, Mark Ingram, Rex Burkhead, Giovanni Bernard.
Yeah, if they're going to sign one of those guys, it would be Kareem Hunt. Would make the most sense. Obviously
that would be nice.
Yeah. Part of me wonders though if they're even going to bother doing that, if they're just going to stick with the guys they're. And, they talk about how running backs are kind of, interchangeable, and it's really more about the offensive system, offensive line. We'll see, right? So, yeah, to be determined. Real quick, I want to say hey to Lance. Thanks for being here, Lance. Appreciate you. We're at it again. The Rowdy Bunch is back 100%. Mark Jackson says whoever is not injured, that might be the answer, right? That may be the accurate answer. Romboid Bubble says DeMarcado, just because he didn't give up and push to get this 2-point conversion. That was a heck of a play, right?
True, but there's also a lot of line help.
Yeah.
But I like the dude. That play was a very endearing moment for him.
Yeah, no, listen, it was nice to see for sure. Doc's card says bringing Kareem Hunt would be a kind move. No thanks. I think Leonard Fournette would be more of a kind move, but that's fair. Let's see. Back to Constitution. One, thanks for being here. I don't ever want to hear Dumb and Dumber like. Oh, jeez. All right, yeah. Thanks for being here. So yeah, something else was in the news though as well recently, and I thought this was kind of interesting. That this was on Twitter, and Darren Irvin tweeted this out as well, and wrote an article about it, that Clayton Tune got a message from Aaron Rodgers. Since it's from an AA Ron, why don't our resident AARR Ron with that extra R in there? I know, right?
Why?
Why? Because I can. No. So what are your thoughts on this, Aaron?
Well, I mean, it is pretty cool. I guess there's a whole bunch of NFL vets that did welcome a couple of the rookies in the league, like Michael Mayer from the Raiders got a shout out from Rob Gronkowski. So, but it's still, I'm pretty sure they had to pick someone. For Aaron Rodgers to pick, Clayton Tune, it's saying a lot, especially after one game like that. And his message was basically along the lines of like, "Hey, I had 23 teams pass me up," and he was obviously 7th round draft pick, pretty late. So he's just like, if there's anyone who can make it in this league, it's you, because I've done it in a way. Of course, 1st to 7th round, and his stands right now is.
Round?
5th round? Okay.
23 picks ahead of him.
Yeah.
I believe.
Say again?
I think there was like 23 picks ahead of him.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's what it was. It was 23 teams, 23 picks, something like that. But either way.
5th round, yeah.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. But still, day 3, late.
It just goes to show that, you never know who's really watching you, especially in the NFL. And regardless of if he was like paid to do this or not, this is, one hell of a way to start your career. And especially, leading that drive late in the game. I mean, the Tune's got to be on top of the world right now. So it's a really cool moment to see from, one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Right. Jackie, what do you think of Aaron Rodgers having some words of encouragement for one Mr. Clayton Tune?
I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. In full transparency, I have always hated Aaron Rodgers, regardless.
So have I. I grew up in Wisconsin.
Recently, have not been able to stand him since he's been in the league. This was a Fanatics commercial, so it felt kind of disingenuous. Right. We don't know for sure if he picked Clayton Tune himself to say this to, or whoever is putting this commercial on is like, "Hey, this guy, just say some nice things and let's just keep moving." Right. But it is, for Clayton Tune, just ignorance is bliss. We don't know if that's true, but just to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers, future Hall of Famer, a quarterback of his stature, to wish you words of encouragement, that's pretty cool.
I'm going to tell you, I actually don't like it. I don't like it one bit, and I'm going to tell you why.
It's not just a me thing. I don't have the hot take.
No. Yeah, I don't like Aaron Rodgers giving words of encouragement to Clayton, because I'm going to tell you why. Because he's done this before. Aaron Rodgers has words of encouragement to an Arizona Cardinals quarterback once before.
Okay, and
it did not.
Clayton Tune does not have the red flags that Josh Rosen did.
Okay, listen, Mr. Aaron Van Buren. I don't know about you, but I believe in bad mojo. Okay, and Aaron Rodgers hath brought bad mojo to one Arizona Cardinals quarterback, and I hope that's not happening. Hopefully, that somehow he has been kind of inoculated. Tune has been inoculated from the bad mojo. But that bad mojo, you know what I'm saying? So
you want to know what's ironic about this picture, though? Josh Rosen went into Lambeau and beat Aaron Rodgers, and I was there for that game.
Yeah, that's his one shining moment, isn't there?
So maybe it's like some reverse voodoo magic or something.
Right. So yeah, Jordan P. I agree with Jackie. It's cool for two,
Rosen
but I
was
think it's just commercial or nothing more. Let's see. Let's see. Oh no, right?
Look at that. Josh Rosen wasn't a QB.
Oh,
Yeah, bench warmer.
right. Well, listen, he was certainly wasn't an NFL starting quarterback, right? But yes, at least we normally beat Aaron Rodgers. Let's see. Agent 47, Clayton at least can't be a bust because he got draft on fifth. I mean, listen, the expectations aren't nearly as high, right? So there you go. So Doc's cards, vomiting, right? So yes. Oh, we got Tyler. What is up, Tyler? Thanks for being here. Yo, I forgot about that. Appreciate you hanging out with us.
Usually I'm the one with the obscure Cardinals memories. I don't remember this at all.
See, I do.
I do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of comparisons between Rosen and Rodgers, so I thought, man, we finally got the next Aaron Rodgers. Nope.
I'll tell you.
All I can think of is Curtis Riley.
I'll tell you. At the time, I loved that Rodgers was meeting with him because the thing about Rosen, he's a little kind of different personality. Or Rosen, that he's a different personality, right? And really smart, a little kind of cocky, maybe a little, and it just his personality reminded me a little bit of Aaron Rodgers. So I'm like, well, if anyone can kind of impart wisdom and speak something into him, there maybe it's Aaron Rodgers, but clearly it wasn't meant to be, right? So yeah. Let's see, and then Jordan P. To continue what you're saying of Rodgers bringing bad mojo, the Cliff and Kyler dynasty essentially ended against him when AJ Green had an infamous Cardinal moment.
That was all AJ Green, not Kyler.
Yeah. No, listen, AJ Green didn't turn around. It was an unfortunate. It was sad. It's like mistakes like that actually happen every game, but it happened at a really bad moment, right? That's whatever. But like that was everything. Kind of went down from there, right? So.
Mm-hmm.
If the Cardinals had won that game, the narrative around Kyler Murray could be completely flipped.
100%. Deus has the Cliff Kingsbury artwork from his bachelor pad right there. Appreciate you being here. Our team just got a tune-up this season, right? Tune time. Bad mojo will make Clayton stranger. Okay. So we'll see what happens, right? But hopefully that doesn't actually end up being bad mojo, and we'll see what happens. So I want to kind of maybe throw one more question out there, and I'll throw this one out for the audience as well, and we'll talk about matchups or position battles. When you look at this roster, obviously there's a couple more preseason games to go. We've seen the Cardinals play now in preseason, and now we'll see a couple more games, and then wait and see how things play out. When you look at the position battles on the roster, which battles are you most interested in as it stands right now? And Jack, we'll let you get us started. What's one position battle that you are really interested in right now?
Right now, it's corner. I don't know if it's necessarily Michael Wilson is the real deal because we saw these great highlights coming out of training camp, or the fact that Marco Wilson hasn't improved or, isn't playing up to what the standards are. And, I mentioned Keitrell Clark, not that I think he's going to be the outright number one, number two, but, he's kind of thrown his name in there. Christian Matthews kind of thrown his name out there a little bit. But what was interesting was in that preseason game, we saw Antonio Hamilton in the fourth quarter. So what does that say about him? So where does somebody stand? Are we going to roll with this group? Are we going to bring someone in? It's a lot of questions there for sure.
Yeah, cornerback for me is the number one that I'm watching. There's some players I like in there, but there's a lot of question marks. Aaron, what do you think about the cornerback battle?
It's still as muddled as any kind of cocktail you could think about enjoying, and it's so hard for me to even come up with stuff to say about it because one, it's preseason, but two, you don't know what's going to happen. Yes, did Antonio Hamilton have some plays? I think Darren Urban, there was a pick by him or a near pick, but he also had a huge pass interference call late in the game. And like Jackie said, kind of like my comment towards the snaps about, like Kelvin Beachum getting, more snaps than, a rookie. It just goes to show you, is anything really going on with the development of this. And back when I wrote for Raising Zona, I wrote I did not like the Marco Wilson pick. And now there's still time. He could still make the roster, but would he be playing as much as he was last year? I don't know. And so maybe I was kind of right in the same way, but that's kind of self-promotion there in a way. I just want to see us, how we're going to do against Kansas City, and whatever limited look we get at their starters, because it's not like they have the most world-class receivers. Of course, they got Kelsey at the tight end, but it's the quarterback that makes them dangerous. And how are they going to hold up against someone who can create magic like Mahomes?
Yeah, for sure. And we'll say, and Jordan P saying wait till Garrett Williams comes back, which should be very soon. So that's also going to throw another sort of wrench into that competition, right? And so I will say Antonio Hamilton, everyone kind of saw that PI, right? And Thunder, thanks for being here. That PI was tough to avoid. I'm going to throw a ball, but it's also worth noting that Antonio Hamilton on 35 snaps had a PFF grade of 90.2. He had the second highest grade on defense for the Cardinals. I think the second highest grade. Let's see, offensively, no one had a grade that third highest grade. Hayden Howerton had a 93.4, and then Dennis Gardeck had a 95.5 on 7 snaps. So he actually played really well. It's just everyone remembers, right, the PI. But Jackie, you brought up a good question, like where does kind of Antonio Hamilton fit into this, right? Because they talked about in the broadcast that he's kind of fighting for a roster spot or for a role, and he's a guy I've liked. He's played well for the Cardinals. He's been maybe the most consistent quarterback actually over the last couple of years when he's been in there in terms of playing well. But you look at like Marco, I do think, and Jordan says here, I think Marco is quarterback 1 going into the year. I think that's just the plan, unless something significant changes. And I think there's a competition for cornerback 2 and for slot corner. And even that slot corner, there's a question in here about the safeties, right? Paul's asking Buda Baker, Jalen Thompson, and Simmons at safety at the same time, and what they're talking about doing a lot is that they're probably going to play in the nickel. They're going to play all 3 of them and have, I think Jalen Thompson kind of be more the slot, playing in the slot with that. So, and then there's Christian Matthew. Where does he fit into Antonio Hamilton? So I think that competition for number 2 cornerback is getting pretty spicy, right? Between Hamilton and Keytrell. And, and is Christian Matthew in that mix? I don't know. So, yeah. Aaron, what's a position battle that you're watching?
Is it too wrong to say the second running back spot?
No. I don't know. Would you have something more you want to add to the?
I mean, that's definitely one I'm watching. Yeah. But I would also say I had to mention that. But I want to see who's really going to become like the wide receiver 2. Is it going to be Rondale Moore, or is it going to be Zach Pascal, however you say it? Because I mean, Rondale Moore only got limited snaps. He did have a catch for like 13 yards or something, but then of course the slip, which it happens, and then the pick for Tune on that or early in the first half. So, but people are just we've been waiting on Rondale Moore for just to have that Minnesota game over and over again that he had that one time, and it's not there yet. And I think he's starting to feel the pressure, and I think he's always felt the pressure because there was a like a YouTube short about JJ Watt going up to Rondale Moore, probably in his rookie year, or when JJ came over, and he went over to Rondale Moore, and he basically had to be like, "Hey, you dropped the ball on Wednesday, and it's not Sunday. You go back after practice, you make it up, you're going to be just fine." But I think there may be a little more to that's going on with Rondale more than just, performing on the field. Maybe there's something off the field that could be bothering him. Maybe it's just is the pressure. And, Zach Pascal, had a couple, flashy moments, especially as a deep threat wide receiver with the Colts for a little bit. I believe he might have been in Atlanta before that. I had to check on that. So we'll see who really becomes that second wide receiver, and especially with the limited wide receivers that we're going to have on the field if we're running double tight or even we're going triple tight with the tight end. So that would be my next position besides the running backs I'd watch for.
Yeah. I think receiver's an interesting one. I mean, I think is Michael Wilson the starting X? I hope so. I mean, he's looked good. In terms of the snaps, that sure seems like it. You would think Hollywood Brown's going to be a starter, and then it's that slot, right? Is it going to be Dortch? Is it going to be Rondale? How does Pascal? I think they're going to, rotate guys based on what they're doing, right? But by the end of the season, who's going to get the most targets and snaps on receiver? That's going to be certainly an interesting thing. I think defensive line, it's an interesting one to watch as well. We have, they're talking about obviously Zaven playing at the edge now, but who's going to be the other starting edge? It was certainly they started, Gardeck, and he played well. And is he going to be that guy? And it's funny, we've been talking about all the edge rushers, Thomas and Sanders and Ojulari, and in many ways, Gardeck's kind of been the guy we've kind of forgotten about, right? We haven't talked about him much. Does he end up being that guy that starts? And how do they rotate those guys and use them? Does Thomas get played a little more on the inside? So, and then who's going to start? Like, does Collier end up becoming sort of a reclamation project that works out for them? Former first round pick who didn't really pan out in Seattle. Does he end up showing that he actually has something and plays better in the system? Do they get something out of Lecky Fotu? Right?
It'd be nice.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this, like, when you look at the defense, like I watched a couple games of the Eagles defense, and I looked at and then I also looked at the snaps and the players from the Eagles defense, how many snaps the defensive front players got, and kind of looked at their profile, and just looking at like their build and their style of play, and not talent level, but like just what kind of players they were. Like, Lecky Fotu is the closest thing to a nose tackle on this roster in terms of build.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean he's going to be that guy if he doesn't play well, but he's the guy that fits build-wise what they want there. So we'll see if he can do that. So, yeah, there's a lot of questions. I saw a really, really question I definitely want to get to, because this is a really important one. Dave was saying, where are the guitars in the background, Joe, right? And, and Romboy Bubble was saying Keith Davis asking the real questions, right? 100%. So yeah, in case you didn't notice, I am in a new and improved TCR studios. I have moved, so I've got a different space here. So the guitars two of them are in my living room, a couple of them are in stands, and I've got an electric guitar back over here, but the guitars on the wall are no longer part of the TCR studio set, but I do still have them. They have not gone anywhere. So yes, I know that's a really, really important question. Yeah, I think there's a lot of battles, right, still going on. In terms of defensive, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think that's where there's the most uncertainty. I feel like we have a little bit of an idea how the offense is going to play out, or at least a closer idea. Maybe the receivers a little bit of question, running back, but I feel like there's more clarity on offense than there is on defense. And that's, not surprising with this change of system and everything. So, yeah. So let's see. I want to just say we're probably going to get out of here soon. I want to thank all the folks that have jumped in here. Gary Coker, thanks for being here. Good grief, almost missed it. Well, we are glad that you didn't. Thank you for being here. And then we had, saw a comment from Robert Moore in here. Robert's here. Chris Smith, thanks for being here. Backup quarterback's another battle that needs to be watched. Not saying Tune is better than McQuaid, but they might want to see what his upside is now versus later. I mean, there's certainly going to be a question of like who, certainly we've got Colt McCoy and Clayton Tune, I feel like are going to be locks to make the roster. The question is, what about Blau? While Kyler's injured, I feel like Blau will be on there, the three of them. When Kyler comes back, it seems like David Blau is probably the guy who's they're going to try to get to the practice squad, right? Unless he really kind of earns a spot there as that backup, right? Robert Moore, there you are. Good evening, all. Were Russ and the Broncos starters that bad, or was the Cardinals defense actually okay? Yeah, that's a good question. Jackie, what do you think? Do you think that the Broncos were that bad, or the Cardinals defense was actually actually not so bad?
Yes. No, it's actually a mixture of both. I mean, Russ has been a shell of himself ever since he arrived in Denver. But at the same time, we've got some guys that are playmakers, and they really got after it. He was the most pressured quarterback in the preseason, week 1. We've had some sacks, batted down passes, which was a pleasant surprise because we haven't had a lot of pass rush productivity, especially last year. So to see that our second string pass rush made Russell Wilson look, silly on TV, chef's kiss.
Right. Aaron, what do you think?
I think it comes down to more of the fact that they were probably, from a playbook standpoint, they were so lost in translation from dealing with the Nathaniel Hackett mess, that going to a strict, organized Sean Payton, you do this now sort of offense, and they probably worked out the kinks. And of course, they got a primetime game, at least on the West Coast, and so pretty much 80% of the country got to see the whole thing and laugh at them, and it just doesn't work in Russell Wilson's favor. So but like Jackie said, there's got to be some credit to our guys in the way that they've gave them fits. I mean, to see like I said, to have Russell Wilson not score until the 4th drive in the preseason game against a team that was in the running to have the number 1 overall pick for quite a big chunk of last year is it says something that there are some gems to be unearthed in Arizona somewhere on the defense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's small sample size. It's preseason. In a quarter of play, a bad defense can look good and a good defense can look bad. So there's so much variability. I think it was, I think our defense is better coached than it was before. I think they were playing a little bit aggressive. I think Denver was struggling a bit, as Jackie kind of mentioned when we started this conversation. I think it's a little bit of both, but I think the defense looked better than we thought it would, but it was probably also a part Seattle struggling and part it's just preseason, and preseason be like that. Let's see, got a couple other questions. Thanks for being here, KDLK108. Why is somebody mentioning the run D? I don't know. I mean, we don't talk about every single thing, or we'd be here for 3 hours. But the run D, they got run on a little bit. There's the D as a whole needs work. So we didn't specifically talk about that because we're not going to talk about every single thing every show. But yeah, it needs work. First game of preseason.
I mean, they only had 122 rushing yards. So unless there was like big gashes, which I was only able to watch like into second quarter, then I don't know what's so bad about that.
Right. Jordan's asking thoughts on Trey McBride. He didn't play, right, because I think he was a little nicked up, right? What do you think, Jackie? Are you worried about Trey McBride? What are your thoughts on Trey?
That's going to be kind of interesting, given that we're in a new coaching system, offensive system that didn't draft him. And I'm still kind of bothered that we drafted him with the 2nd round when we have Zach Ertz, who has been activated off the PUP list. So we will see where he falls in the mix. But, it's been a quiet kind of training camp. We haven't heard much about him. Kind of forgot he was on the roster, to be honest, until today. So, I mean, if he's not making names for himself, or, he's just tight end 2 or tight end 3.
Yeah, what do you think?
I think this is the put up or shut up here. You got an offense that's coming in and it's going to run double tight way more than they ever did, in the previous 2 years or whatever it's been. Even going as far as 3 tight ends, like that would be like the equivalent of, I don't know, the Miami Dolphins running split back. It just, you don't see that much anymore. So this is the year that Trey McBride should be enthralled to be on the roster and to be like, oh, great, with a good running threat like James Conner in the backfield, now I can do my thing on the line and maybe pop out for a late, a delay route, or just be the playmaker that he was at Colorado State. So hopefully he stays healthy and he actually sees the field a lot more. And, with him and Ertz on the field, the possibilities are, endless if it all goes right.
Yeah, and I think you hit on an important thing. The offense here is going to be playing a lot of 2 tight ends, and he is, as long as he's healthy, he's too talented to not play.
Exactly.
So I'm not worried about him. I think he's going to play, and I think and I think he's going to be fine. He came on the end of last season. Someone said in the comments that he practiced today. So, Gary's saying that he practiced today, so he's good to go. I think he'll be fine, right? So I'm not worried about that at all, as long as he's healthy, right? Real quick, want to say I had a comment here that I want to bring up on Raphael Soltran. Thanks for being here. Damn, I'm a Giants fan, but the Cardinals look like they believe in the coach and played really hard. And hey, listen, you guys have a nice coach there in Brian Daboll. And listen, what your Giants did last year is kind of the model for what the Cardinals would hope to do this year. Going into last season, people did not have high expectations for the Giants, at least not outside of the building. And Brian Daboll came in and really did a great job coaching that team. And I think the Cardinals are in a similar place in terms of a new coach, with a lot of people not believing in them. So, and I think that's a starting point, right? Is if the players buy in and believe in the coach and, are committed, then that's a good start. So here is hoping that happens. So we'll see, though. Let's see. This has a question. TCR, guess, what are your favorite jersey colors?
Are we talking team specific or in general?
You can do both if you want.
For team specific, I am heavily biased towards these colors. These are colors I wore in high school. Our team name was the Black Shirts, and we had it first, not Nebraska. We ran out of red shirts because too many teams in the area were red. So we started wearing black shirts to practice, and that's how we got the name. So we'd always go out. We had all black uniforms, white numbers, red trim. It was always so awesome going out at night and playing. So that's my favorite team specific wise. But in general, I am torn between the Seahawks throwback and the Buccaneers creamsicles. Those are my 2 absolute favorite. I'm sorry, but those are masterpieces that are just phenomenal.
Okay. Jackie, what do you think?
If we're going to go Cardinals specific, I love our red uniforms. I saw some article today like that people are blasting our red uniforms that look like pajamas, but it's like, look at everybody's uniform. Everybody's uniforms typically look like pajamas.
Right.
I love our red. If we're gonna go like overall, I really love powder blue. So I love the Chargers like color rush like powder blue uniforms.
Oiler throwbacks.
Or throwbacks, yes.
For the Cardinals, I mean, I do kind of like their black alternate, right? The black is kind of nice.
We lose in the black jersey.
I know, that's true. That's a good point. But I'm coming around. Dr. Carter says all white from 2004. I'm coming around to the white uniforms. I'm just not one who really likes just white clothing and stuff. But I mean, I do like the red, but I got to go with the black. Now, in terms of just in general, so this is probably a weird pick, but like, I have just always kind of liked the orange and black of the Bengals with the stripes. I just always thought that was kind of cool.
It's unique.
So,
I like the white.
Yeah.
They're white with the stripes.
Yeah. Oh, that's also good. Yeah. So, So yeah, so we're obviously asking the really important questions right now. So
Can
yeah, Aaron.
can I go up? There was a comment about someone made like the Kyler sports bra thing.
Oh yeah.
So,
My
but
God.
okay, but
Yeah, go for it.
here's the thing. Okay, as TCR in Arizona Sports Underground resident strength coach. Okay, there's that company Catapult makes GPS units that measure, force absorbed, a trillion different things. But one of the most common ways that you wear them is basically in a sports bra format. Okay, and everyone's kind of crapping on Kyler just because of the way that he looks in that picture, whereas Rob Gronkowski did the same picture probably for Sports Illustrated, and no one gave a damn.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what's used by the sports science program with the Cardinals, and is used all across college, all across pro sports, because that's cream of the crop. So he's not wearing a sports bra, and even if he chose to do it, great. Who cares? Because he's stuck here with us for until 2028 at least. So there's that.
So Doc's saying, hey, it was a joke, but yeah, and to me when I look at it, I'm like, and you're right, like it's one of those things. A lot of players wear those for tracking data, and what it is, Kyler's a popular target to take a dump on lately, right, in the media. So he's an easy target. So so we just got to get used to it, right? Or and he's got to prove everyone wrong, and I'm hopeful that he's going to do that. So at this point, we're just used to people taking cheap shots, right, Kyler? So
that's for sure.
Well, hey, we're going to wrap this up. I'm trying to keep us to an hour this season because I am known for the epic 2.5 hour live streams when my guest hosts are messaging me like, dude, I can't stay awake. I got to go to sleep. So let's kind of wrap this up. So Jackie, will you tell us where folks can find you, what some of your other content that you create is, and anything else you want to say and shout out before we get out of here?
Well, if you're interested, you can follow me on Twitter at jsandiego. I'm also a contributor to AZ Sports Underground, so I do some writing. I also do my podcast, which is in collaboration with AZ Sports Underground now. So it's the Redbird Red Zone podcast. We actually have a live coming up this Thursday at 6 p.m. So anybody interested, we drink beer, we say bad words, we just tell it like it is. So definitely come hang out with us. It's a lot of fun. I've got a lot of things to say. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And wait, here we go. Wait a minute. There are Cardinals fans? Yes, silly goose. All right, Aaron, so same question for you. Tell us where we can find you, what you got going, and anything else you want to shout out.
Well, my Twitter /X handle, if you want to be politically correct, is on the screen. I do periodically, get an article up with AZSU or Joe and Kyler's site. Jesus, I can't talk right now. But so I've had a few pieces over the summer. And then also if any of you guys are looking to kind of get into trying to run, whether it's like a 5K or any sort of distance, or be like me and end up doing marathons, I have a couple of videos on YouTube. I haven't made one in a little bit, but I hope to get another one here, as I have as of tomorrow. I'll be 1 month out from my second marathon this year, and I did my first one back in May. So if you want to follow me on that journey, you're more than welcome to.
What's that YouTube channel called?
It's just my name. You search Aaron Van Buren, it will show up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, y'all hopefully know where to find me, The Cardinal Rule on YouTube, at Jokomo13 at Twitter. I will never call it by the other name. Forget you, Elon. And AZ Sports Underground. So listen, we're back. We should be doing TCR Lives hopefully every week on Tuesday. That's the plan. And then, maybe some post-game response and analysis and post-game lives. We'll see as things go through the season. But I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to have some football. So we're going to get out here. Thank y'all for being here. I'm going to put up the channel member shout-outs. And if you want to support the channel on a regular basis, there's a button on the homepage for how to become a channel member. Certainly, I appreciate the folks that do that. So I'm going to put out the shout out and we're going to get out of this here. So we'll see you later. Peace,
Discord.
everyone. Discord. Yes. Join the Discord. It's a fun community too. Later, everyone.
Hey, yo, it's Joe Mo. He's the host of my